Hey,
Just a couple more seconds, hopefully.
Yeah, I got a notice that it was being live streamed.
We are live.
great. Um, Mr. Smiskel, would you like to commence the meeting and we'll call call?
Yes, I will call to order the meeting of the Grants and Reporting Committee for the Texas Indigent Defense Commission. Um, it looks like we have our new committee member here, Mr. Cohen. Am I correct?
I'm here.
Good. And
And
then Judge Woolley, you said may or may not be able to join us.
right. And Doriana, just for the record, can you just call the roll for us?
Oh, okay.
Happy,
I'm sorry. I was introducing instead of formally
Oh,
calling
that's okay.
roll. Okay. All
happy
right.
to.
Go ahead.
The Honorable Emily Miskell,
Here.
the Honorable J.R. Woolley, Mr. J. Cohen.
Present.
We have quorum.
Thank you. So we're anticipating that Judge Woolley will join and we'll be sure to note that when he's able to get on with the meeting. Well, thank you all for making some time to work through this. The first item on our agenda was the approval of the minutes of the Grants and Reporting Committee in June. I should note for Mr. Cohen that at our last meeting, we had a similar question that's probably in your mind about having not attended the meeting. You can't really know if the minutes are accurate or not, but
Right. I assumed I couldn't second that
yeah,
or
but
make a motion.
we did talk with our Deputy Director and General Counsel, Wesley Shackelford, and in this sort of situation, it is permissible to approve the
Okay.
minutes conditionally on the fact that you did not attend the previous meeting. Um, so,
Okay. Should I make a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Okay. I'll second on the that I wasn't there.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
I
thank you all. I know it's an unusual circumstance with new members, but for the record, we do have the minutes and now they are adopted. So thank you for doing that. So we have a handful of regular grant applications that were left pending at our June meeting. As you'll recall, June is our big grant making meeting for our annual cycle. And there were a handful, although we did approve a number of grants at the June meeting, we did have four requests that we thought needed some more work, based both on the feedback we received from our external grant reviewers and also from the staff. And so we left those pending. So we have four grants that are left from June that we'll be bringing forward now, feeling very good to make a positive recommendation for awards in those cases. We have a slate of requests from our special supplemental request for applications related to the special legislative funding for existing rural defender programs. And we'll get into those details in a few minutes. That's for one-time or temporary assistance. But before we jump in to ask you all to approve the request for funding, we wanted to show you our draft budget for 2026 so that you can feel good that we do have sufficient resources to be able to say yes to these recommendations. So this is our draft budget. We'll be taking this up for adoption at the full board meeting on Friday. It is Friday next week, I believe, or is it Thursday?
Thursday.
Next Thursday. So we do have GR and general revenue dedicated funds appropriated. The revenue that's been appropriated is at the top of this table. And I'll note a couple of things here. We did get the item in the revenue section for $10 million. We did get this carry forward of leftover Operation Lone Star funds that the legislature is allowing us to carry forward to use specifically for one-time or temporary assistance for existing rural defender programs. So we'll get into that in more detail, but that's $10 million. And then we also received a supplemental appropriation in HB 500 of $5.1 million. This was money that the legislature provided because in the current biennium, the amount that they appropriated was not supported by revenue into the Fair Defense account. And so this was a supplemental amount that they gave us that we have at our disposal for this next biennium. That 5.1 million and the 10 million will not show up in the second year of the biennium. So those are both numbers that are supposed to get us through the entire 2-year period. So if you look at the actual budget, the amount for improvement grants, the first amount is for formula grants, $20 million. The second amount for improvement grants, those are the awards that have already been approved by the board in June. And then the next number, 1.981 million, is what's being proposed today. So this budget contemplates that you all would approve all of the staff recommendations. And even doing so, at the end of the day, we have 3.2 million at the bottom that is unbudgeted. So we do have sufficient resources to move forward on any of these things that you all deem appropriate. I will say that the 3.2 million is a little bit misleading, because in the next year, the second year of the biennium, we're not going to have that $5.1 million supplemental appropriation. So the leftover money here is going to be needed to cover expenses in the second year of the biennium. But the main reason we wanted to share the draft budget with you was so that you have the confidence that the resources are there if you deem any of these requests worthy of making awards. Any questions about kind of budget before? Okay, we can go on to the next page. So the first grant that was left pending in June that we want to take up is from Atascosa County. And this is for 2 additional employees for the current Atascosa County Regional Public Defender Program that would be specifically focused on mental health cases. The Atascosa District Court has recently started a specialty court for defendants with mental health challenges. And this additional staff would be focused on working and serving as the defense component of that specialty court program, as well as providing representation capacity insofar as they have the capacity to take on work beyond the specialty court representation, to provide more specialized representation to defendants that are coming into the program who have unique needs in that way. I do want to point out that 3 of the 4 applications that were left pending are related to mental health specific defender programs. And in our appropriation from the legislature, 2.5 million per year is earmarked and must be used for indigent defense programs focused on defendants with mental health challenges. So obviously these 3 of these 4 help us to direct funds in that to those types of programs. And so that's a big part of why we're making positive recommendations, is that the legislature has definitely prioritized these kinds of programs. There were some questions early on just about the need to develop in more detail the roles and responsibilities of the new staff in connection with the specialty court and how they would be providing support for other defendants that are not in the court. Thanks to Bill Cox, who's on our call from our improvement team. He worked with the chief defender there to elaborate the application, clarify some questions that we had, and we're happy to make a positive recommendation to add these 2 staff people to this program to focus on mental health cases. We do have a motion number 2 to recommend approval of the mental health public defender improvement grant of $200,200 to Atascosa County.
Had my mic off. So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you all. Next item is from Hays County. This was an application that came in a little bit after the deadline that didn't allow us to get it ready to present to you at the June meeting. And it is for additional staff for the existing Hays County Public Defender Office. That office is operated under a contract that the county has with Neighborhood Defender Service, which is a nonprofit public defense provider. The program has been in place for a couple of years now. They would like to expand their staff and take on additional cases in Hays County specifically for defendants with mental health challenges. And so they're asking for a team to be added to the program to focus on that type of representation. And they would be taking additional cases within TIDC caseload guidelines. The program would accept a greater share of the cases that would be coming through Hays County with the additional capacity. These programs, again, this is part of the priority that the legislature had indicated in its budget rider for mental health defender programs. And these programs that we've funded in other jurisdictions have proven to be successful in helping to give defendants better long-term prospects for success in the community once their cases are resolved. So we have resolved any outstanding questions, and we have a positive recommendation to award Hays County. This is motion number 3, a mental health public defender improvement grant of $410,083.
So
I-
moved. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just have a
Discussion.
question, and if you know the answer, why do they contract? Why do they have another organization, Neighborhood Defender Service? Is that
So there are different approaches that counties can take when they decide that they want to have a public defender model. Harris County, for example, the county created a county department, hired
Sure.
staff attorneys who are county employees, and number of other jurisdictions have done it directly. Other jurisdictions have opted to outsource it basically under contract. So for example, the B County Regional Public Defender originally was operated by Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid, now known as Texas Rio Grande Public Defender. But these nonprofits are able to offer a kind of more of a turnkey solution, if you will, where they can execute a contract, handle the hiring, handle the oversight and management, and the county's not taking on those direct responsibilities.
do we know how lean or anything are they operated? I mean,
So the county definitely, when they contract, looks at the cost
Okay.
per case and everything. And while the county, Hays County, when they contracted with Neighborhood Defender Service, did this without TIDC funding. I think they originally used some funds that the county received under the ARPA COVID-related relief from the federal
Okay.
government. But it goes through the same county budget process.
Gotcha.
So all of these budgets have to be approved by the local county commissioners court in order to move forward. And as you can imagine, they're looking to make sure that they're cost effective. And you know, this proposal was certainly in line with our expectations on cost per case, given our experience. I should also note that this is one of the service providers that has been providing Operation Lone Star defense representation for some of the Operation Lone Star
Oh,
cases.
okay.
So it's not as if we do have experience working with this group in that context. And so I think based on that, we were comfortable making the recommendation.
Thank you for explaining it.
Sure. Yeah, and please, I understand we have items to get through, but please slow down or have as much discussion or questions as you all would like. I don't want to go too fast.
Well, I'll second Judge Miskell's motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. The next item is also a mental health related program from Medina County, and this is for the existing Hill Country Regional Public Defender Program. This program serves 5 counties in the Hill Country region. They have not had dedicated mental health support staff, such as social workers or mental health caseworkers so far, and they would like to add a complement of one social worker and 3 mental health caseworkers to help work closely with their attorneys to identify the areas where defendants need extra support, connecting to resources to do more detailed and effective assessments of the client's situation in order to have more informed plea negotiations to resolve those cases, and all of the things that mental health caseworkers do in public defender offices. There were, again, some questions from the initial application that just required a little bit more elaboration to clarify the roles of the new staff, make sure they were within the eligible activities that we fund, and they squarely are. Bill Cox worked with the county to refine the application and clarify those aspects of it so that we were comfortable that this fits squarely within the budgeted amounts for mental health defender programs. And so we are recommending a award to Medina County. This is motion number 5. I'm sorry, no, motion number 4, a motion to recommend 2026 Mental Health Public Defender Improvement Grant of $362,549 to Medina County.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. And then the last one that was left pending at our June meeting was from Polk County. This is not specific to mental health defense representation, but rather Polk County is seeking to create a new public defender office. It's a single county program at this time. We did discuss with Polk County that it would be advantageous in the long run for them to try to partner with some neighboring counties to implement a regional program that would allow them to qualify for sustainability funding. At this time, there was an interest in the neighboring counties, but I think the plan is to get the office up and running and then revisit it to demonstrate some of the advantages that they are anticipating in the region, and to revisit the question of perhaps going regional. So the office would handle only about half of the, roughly speaking, about half of the indigent defense caseload in the county. It would cover one of the two district courts and then the county courts at law. The other district court would continue to rely on the wheel. The original budget that they submitted was kind of high level, lacked some of the detail, and I also think it wasn't really sufficient for the amount of the scope of the offices they were proposing at the budget didn't align based on TIDC's analysis. So again, Mr. Cox worked with the county to revisit their budget to provide a more detailed budget that was grounded in the TIDC caseload guidelines. And I think at this point, the staffing aligns with what their proposed scope is. So that was the major work to be done back in June. We've checked that box and we're feeling good about it. And so we're recommending this award to Polk County. This is motion number 5 to award a multi-year improvement grant to Polk County of $760,607.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, so that concludes our pending grant request from June. That was all consideration of applications under our regular annual grant application opportunity. Next, we'll turn to the special grant opportunity that we opened up for existing rural public defender programs for one-time or temporary assistance. So just as to review, or for those of you who weren't at the last board meeting where we discussed this, the legislature did allow us to carry forward $10 million of leftover Operation Lone Star grant funds into the current biennium, but they put very specific restrictions on that funding. And they said that it could be used only for existing rural public defender programs for one-time or temporary assistance. So I've excerpted the budget rider language here for you. Those are the that's the box we're operating within. So based on the board's guidance at the June board meeting, we issued a supplemental request for applications. So our regular application is really for programs that are not temporary, but for permanent programs. We really try to invest our improvement grant programs in lasting reform and things that are going to go on beyond a certain set amount of time. This is obviously a different animal, so we had to issue a different type of request for applications. In that RFA, as we call it, we bulleted out an incomplete list of acceptable uses for this kind of funding. This is largely based on the kind of conversations and guidance we got from legislators and their staff about what was contemplated or allowable here. And so, for example, one of the things that a number of the grantees are requesting is a temporary reduction of the required sustainability program cash match. So most all the counties that are part of the sustainability grant program for rural regional public defenders benefit from state grants covering 2/3 of the budget for those programs on an ongoing basis, and the participating counties allocate the remaining 1/3, generally based on caseload. So most of the counties have requested, or most of the programs have requested, that we do a temporary reduction of their matching requirement for their rural regional public defender programs. We also suggested, because as you've been hearing at meeting after meeting, that recruiting assistance would be a good use of these temporary funds. Many of our programs have struggled to fill openings. So we fund a new public defender office, and for example, Abilene, as part of the expansion of our Concho Valley office down in San Angelo, And the most acute need there was for felony qualified lawyers. Well, we have had vacancies in that program, numerous vacancies in that program since it was created. We really would like to and are recommending investments in more aggressive approaches to recruiting in order to fill these positions that have been open for years, where the district courts are really looking for getting these felony qualified attorneys up and running in their jurisdiction. So I think that's a great opportunity for us. We also suggested indigent defense internships and fellowships in these regional rural offices. We've talked a lot about the pipeline for new lawyers coming into indigent defense representation. We did ask the legislature, with the blessing of the commission, for funding for some statewide funding for some internship programs. While they didn't approve that, this is an opportunity for us to direct some of this temporary assistance for interns that will help bring new attorneys into public defense work, which again will address our shortages in the long run. We suggested technology projects and equipment, computer equipment, any kind of special or supplemental training opportunities. And then we did also specifically suggest that family protection representation pilot projects would be welcome. And while we haven't received any applications yet, because it was a very tight turnaround for this particular board meeting, we're holding this application opportunity open for our people to be able to apply on a rolling basis. So those are the kinds of things that we suggested as eligible. It wasn't intended to be an exhaustive list. If others had requests that they think would fit. And we do think that it's a great opportunity for us to not only address the pipeline challenges that we talk about, and also the acute attorney shortage, particularly felony qualified individuals. So with that, I think we can jump into the slate of requests that we received for this one-time temporary assistance from current counties. What I've suggested here, and this is totally up to the members, is, and we're going to try to make this as big as we can because I know it's a lot of information on the page. We suggested just running through this and having you vote on it as a slate. Of course, if you want to take something out or modify it, please don't hesitate to do so. We'll take these we'll discuss these items individually by county, but it may be simpler to just go through the slate and then decide if you feel more comfortable with individual motions or a motion with modifications. So any questions about that before I jump into the particulars? Right.
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
So with the specific county recruiting,
Mhm.
is that, because I know we talked about recruiting as a whole,
Mhm.
and then I would assume that the county specific recruiting would also benefit the whole. Is that?
Well, so all of these requests would be to direct funding to particular programs that we already are funding on a general basis for them to do their own targeted recruiting activities, as opposed to TIDC being involved directly in the recruiting. It would basically be giving resources to the individual programs to do more recruiting activity. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it just seems a little. I mean, I realize, like, if every county is going to do recruiting, like, sure, they need to have their own videos, this, that, and the other. But if we're also doing it as a whole, like, is there some package that we can give to them, or is it not? Is that too global?
Well,
thinking?
I think that's a good idea. I mean, while TIDC that is involved in some outreach to law schools. I mean, we do have, Kristen Meeks on our team has been coordinating some events at law schools regarding interest in public defense work and things like that. We are not directly involved as a state agency in recruiting for particular jobs.
Okay.
We're kind of operating, we're trying to be supportive and
Sure.
to facilitate the work of the various programs, to help them coordinate with one another, to share information.
Okay.
So yeah.
You answered my question.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Sure. We did ask the legislature for a pot of money for TIDC to invest in recruiting. We didn't get it in that form from the ledge, but as you'll see, if we can use some of this temporary assistance, it gets us down that same road. in some of these areas. So first county here is Atascocita County. They operate the regional public defender in Atascocita and 3 surrounding counties. They've asked for 15,100 for internships and 15 tablet computers for their attorneys. They acknowledge that while that's not strictly necessary, that it would basically facilitate their review of discovery, of accessing case files during, in court or on the go. And that equipment was requested as part of this program, and we thought it was reasonable, and so we did recommend it. The B County request was strictly for a reduction in the county match. Most of the counties asked for this in different ways. So the amount that they requested there was, that's the amount that they requested of $479,393 was their entire match. And they, being unsure of how much was going to be available for this purpose, they said, well, we would request a reduction of as much as possible or as much as you're willing to give us in our required match. So what the staff are proposing at this point is to reduce for a number of these the county's required match by 20%. So we have an overall amount of $10 million. We do think that we have a number of different things that are being asked for under this program, some of which would just assist the county in paying for what's happening right now, and some of which would actually advance some of these key goals, such as recruiting, retention, and things like that. So with one exception, what we've recommended is to reduce the required county match by 20% at this juncture for FY 2026. And then as we move into the fiscal year and as counties have more opportunity to put forward other requests, it was a very tight turnaround when we got this issued. We'll have a more complete picture of the universe of what counties are asking for, and then we can either augment that or augment it for the second year of the biennium. But this is basically getting us started with some extra assistance early on, and then we can revisit it as we get into the biennium. So we are recommending a 20% reduction in the B County required match for that program. And that's the figure of 95,879 there. Burnett
so
County, please.
To follow up on the last thing you said, so these requests that we're reviewing on pages 17 through 19, these are all first biennium requests. Is that what you meant?
So with respect to the reduction in county match,
The first year, I'm sorry.
we're just focusing on the first year, and there's substantial funds that are not being proposed to award out at this juncture because it was a tight turnaround and we just don't know what all applications we're going to get. But we think that this is a good down payment on that type of request, and then we would intend to come back to you all and discuss what we can do for 2027's reduction in match. We don't even know what those numbers are going to be yet because it's well into the future. So the figures for the matching funds are basically for 2026. And we will revisit it at future meetings for 2027. Okay, so moving down to Burnett County. So they've requested, basically they need to refresh. The program's been around for a while. They have aging computers and laptops. I think this is a perfect thing that the legislature had in mind for one-time expense where this could be useful. So they've asked for $52,791 to update their laptop fleet, and then in their 3 satellite offices have a couple of backup desktop computers and peripherals. So we're recommending that amount, and then their temporary reduction in match would be 20%. We're recommending 20% for FY 26, and we will revisit 2027 once we get all the counties an opportunity to submit their applications in December or later. Culberson County has a number of line items we'll run through. They've asked also for a reduction in the county's matching contribution. They already are getting elevated 80% coverage of their sustainability grant because of some of the unique aspects of that program. We've still proposed that they reduce that by an additional 20% reduction for 2026. That's 151,441. They have proposed to engage a recruiting firm. This is something that is new for us, much more common in the private sector. To have professional headhunters who, for a fee, will go out to recruit for positions. We are not recommending, we do have a recommendation further down for Tom Green County related to staffing up that Abilene program I was mentioning that's been chronically understaffed as a potential pilot project test case for working with professional recruiters. The way that these typically work is that the recruiter will get 25% of the annual salary of the position that they recruit as a fee on the condition that that person stays for at least 1 year. That's kind of a standard arrangement for these kinds of things in the private sector. As I said, it's a new thing. It's a substantial investment. We'd like to see if it works before we start pumping a lot of money out or obligating a lot of money into this space. So when we get down to Tom Green County, which has really been one of our most acute felony attorney shortages, we are recommending some for professional recruiting fees. We're not doing that for Culberson County, and I've spoken to their chief defender, James, about this because we want to see how it works before we go more broadly with this as an approach. So we're not recommending for Culberson at this juncture, but we are recommending that we try it out with Tom Green County's request, we'll get to in a minute. Extra recruiting travel, recruitment programs. These are like attending CLEs. Again, trying to target the recruitment of felony qualified lawyers. I mean, we do still have a challenge bringing in new lawyers who can take on misdemeanors, but the biggest challenge is that with those felony qualified lawyers. So fees for travel and tabling at CLEs, those types of things we're recommending some funds for. There is a proposal to do from Culberson County and also from Tom Green to work with the videographer to make a recruiting video for their communities. One of the challenges is to introduce these rural communities to people who might be from a faraway place. And given the persistent challenges to get people to apply for these positions, we thought it would be worth giving it a shot. It's a relatively small investment to get these positions filled. And so we are recommending to try to add that to that arrow to the quiver, if you will, for recruiting. We also have a request that we're endorsing for sign-on bonuses and covering relocation expenses. Again, particularly for those felony qualified attorneys that are so difficult to bring out to these rural communities. We think that this could change the math enough to fill some of the positions that have been vacant for way too long. A little bit of money for promotional materials like banners or table covers and printing. And then they're also asking for some internships, which again, we strongly support because of the need to build that pipeline of bringing new folks in. So a lot of different line items, but the majority of them are all associated with that recruiting piece. And we've endorsed funding for most of them. You'll see that some of the amounts that we've recommended initially are less than what was originally proposed. Those initial proposals were for 2 years worth of activities. We're looking at this to get folks started. Again, short turnaround time. We'd like to get some funds out there, get folks started, and as they get into this kind of more expanded outreach, have a better sense of what the need's going to look like for the balance of the biennium. So some of this, I would characterize as getting started in some of these spaces, and they can come back, or we can revisit adding more resources as appropriate. Let's go down to the next one. Hale County, this is our one exception regarding the level of relief we were recommending for their reduction in county match. Hale County is the host county for the Regional Public Defender Office, serving originally 13 counties. I realize I didn't finish typing in all the counties. 13 counties in the Southern Panhandle or the High Plains region of the state. We have funded a regional public defender program there for a couple of years now. It's been very challenging to get off the ground. One of the big challenges was recruitment, but other challenges related to some of the leadership decisions and change in leadership that occurred have resulted in the program having to pause taking new cases while they continue to work through a backlog of initial appointments that came in that sort of overwhelmed them while they were partially staffed. And so as a result, those counties have to continue to pay private counsel to cover most of the cases, or all of the cases that are coming through the courts right now, in addition to the costs of the regional program. So in their special case, we are recommending a 50% reduction in their required county match for 2026. Because the program is very understaffed right now, we think that the amount that's recommended here, which would be their full match if they were fully operational, the actual amount that's going to be paid out on this is going to be a lot less because they lost a lot of staff. And but I think that this elevated level of extra support would be extraordinarily helpful for these extremely rural counties who are struggling to get this new program launched. I think we've worked with them to hit the reset button. They're currently seeking a new chief defender for the program to get it back on track. And so that's why in this particular case, we're recommending a higher percent discount of their required match for the sustainability program. Can move on to Maverick County. Maverick County, so the board did award a grant to Maverick County for a tri-county regional public defender serving Zavala and Dimmitt. They're still getting things in order and trying to get this launched, but because the award was made, it's eligible for this one-time funding as long as it was created before September 1st. So they have simply requested that we reduce their matching contribution as much as possible. And so we're recommending a 20% reduction here of that, that scheduled match for 2026. Okay, let's go to Medina County next. The couple of familiar or repeat items here and then one different one. So the county did request a reduction of as much as possible for their matching contribution for the Hill Country Regional Public Defender Office that serves 5 counties. So we have recommended that they get the 20% reduction in their required county match for 2026. They requested internships, funding for internships, that $57,600, and we very much recommend that because of the need to build that pipeline. The first item there in their list was for temporary raises for their employees for 2 years, and the amount for that item was $290,611. Excuse me. So this requires a little bit of a backstory. When the renewal application for the Hill Country Regional Defender was presented at the June meeting, it included some salary increases as part that were grounded in the TIDC salary study that we did last year, and just trying to get more general parity with similar situated prosecutors and to get more in line with the competitive public defender job market. They had lost some staff. They were having some real retention concerns. And so they came to us with a request for an increase in their sustainability grant that the Medina County Commissioners Court had authorized. And the board did approve their request for the additional increase in their salaries as part of our sustainability grant for 2026. So that's currently in place in their award that we've already made. Since then, again, it's kind of early in June when the counties have not completed their budget workshops. Since then, the county decided that they were not going to move forward that they were going to move forward with much more limited salary increases. I believe they approved a 4% COLA, cost of living adjustment, for the program, which was substantially less than the adjustments that TIDC approved as part of their original renewal application. So the request here was to use some of these one-time temporary assistance funds to cover the difference between what was ultimately approved by the Medina Commissioners Court and what had been originally requested and originally approved by TIDC. So that figure for the 2-year biennium is $290,611. So this one is different from the others. That's why I'm sort of going into a little bit more detail about it. in the context of the program's challenges regarding employee retention, which after all were the motivations for their original request for an increase in their 2026 grant, we did think that it was worth recommending to you all on the basis of supporting retention of qualified staff to approve this. I did have a conversation with the Chief Defender, Carly Cannell, who incidentally we do have in the waiting room if you'd like to dive into this or have any questions in more detail. But we do have, my first concern was that for temporary raises, all the staff would have to recognize that this would be, this would go away after 24 months if it were to be approved, and that would potentially cause some challenges or consternation. And she assured me that in discussions with her staff that people were aware of the situation and the context, and of course would still appreciate the supplemental salary support.
So if I could
pause there. Yeah.
restate what I just heard you say is that these dollars were already approved to go to Medina County. We're just changing essentially the line item that the dollars get paid from.
That's a very good way to put it, Judge Justice Miskell. I appreciate that. Yes, right now these dollars are currently obligated in TIDC's approved continuing award for 2026 for the county. What we would do, and what we'll have to do anyway, is modify that award downward by this amount because the Commissioners Court decided through their budget workshop process, they ultimately weren't willing or able to move forward with it. However, the counties are willing to request that it be funded without county match requirements as part of this special temporary program. So you're right, TIDC's already approved these funds in the normal award. What we're going to have to do one way or the other is reduce that award because the county has changed its mind essentially about its ability to fund it with a match, and then potentially grant the same dollars through this other channel. I know that sounds complicated, but you're homing in on exactly the right view here. I hope it's not too complicated. And as I said, if you would like to hear from Ms. Cannell, the Chief Defender, she could elaborate on the context or backstory, but I've tried to give you the context here as best I can.
Yeah, I was just saying, calling it supplemental salary assistance sounds more palatable probably than temporary raise that's going to be taken back in 2 years.
Palatable for the commission or for everyone?
I just mean in general, right? It's hard to imagine a temporary raise, I guess, is what I was saying. So
yeah. Well, I think that in my conversation with Ms. Cannell, she did say that she wanted to be very transparent and very clear with all of her staff that if this were to happen, they would need to be planning for it to go away. So, I think it will be communicated. It has been discussed in very explicit terms in those ways, and we can kind of change the way that we're referring to it to make it extra clear to everyone that it would be a one-time thing. I mean, again, we did, the staff and the board in its approval of the original request did think that the levels of pay were appropriate and warranted based on our market research and the salary study that we did. So we're supportive of it if it can be made to happen. Any other questions or discussion, or would you like us to bring Ms. Cannell in to give any more?
Nothing else from me.
Okay. We can move on to that. That one was a little more complicated, so it took a little more elaboration. Thank you for working through that. Next item, a few items from Potter County. Potter County is the host county of the Panhandle Regional Public Defender, serving 6 counties in the Panhandle. They're asking for $5,000 in miscellaneous equipment, which we've recommended. Internships, again, we have, I'm not sure why that number is different. I think that I have put the wrong number. I'm going to double check the number for internships because I believe if they were asking for $40,000, we wanted to recommend $40,000 for the internships for Potter County. And the temporary match reduction for 2 years, which for them would 20% match reduction would be $327,256. So if you bear with me 1 second, I'm going to take a look at I believe that that recommendation for internship should be $40,000. Let me pause for a moment and ask Doriana to please message Amy Connor in the waiting room to confirm that the request was for 40,000 for internships over the 2 years. And if so, the recommendation was to fund all the internships that were requested. So that may be an error on my part. While she's doing that, we can go on to the next page and we'll revisit this as needed. Can we go to the next page? Okay. So Tom Green County is the host county for the Regional Public Defender Office, originally serving the Concho Valley, 7 counties in that region. They also expanded to Taylor County and several rural counties surrounding Taylor for a total of 11 counties. The temporary match reduction that they've requested, we're recommending to approve 20% reduction in their required match for FY26 and then to revisit for FY27 once we have more visibility of all the county's requests. They've requested this is the engaging of a recruiting firm is the issue that I had mentioned. Culberson County also asked for. Because Taylor County has been uniquely difficult to staff up with experienced felony qualified lawyers, we think this would be the place to test this as an approach in our space. And so we are recommending that we provide some funding to Tom Green County to engage a recruiting firm, particularly focused on 6 felony attorneys for the Abilene office. Again, the way that those consultants operate, we'd be funding 25% of the salary for each of those positions as a fee if those positions are filled and the person stays for typically 1 year. It's been such a persistent problem. We're getting to the point where we want to try everything, and we think this would be the place to try this approach. Again, much more common in the private sector and just not something that we have any experience with. If it proves to be successful, we would come back to you with a suggestion and to fund it for the Culberson County request and perhaps other programs that think they might benefit.
Can we ask that since it's a pilot program, can we, or I don't know if this is already part of the grant requirements, but can we ask that they produce some sort of written work product about what they did and how they feel it worked out?
Yes, that we can certainly put a grant condition on the award if you all were to approve it. That would require a report that basically explained what they did, what worked and what didn't. I think that would be very helpful and it would be very straightforward for us to put that kind of a grant condition on the award.
Yeah, I would like to see that because, obviously we hope it works, right? Because we want those felony positions filled. But I think given that it's sort of a test program, it would be helpful to produce some written product that could help with more counties if it ends up being successful.
Right. I think that's a great suggestion to more formally document the results and to include that as a grant requirement. So we will definitely note that. And if this advances, we will be sure to include that kind of a requirement. The other items here, many of which overlap with what we saw with Culberson, costs for participating at tabling at CLEs to again try to find those felony qualified lawyers where they are and do some recruiting outreach there. Again, Tom Green, like Culberson, was requesting funds to do a videographer for recruiting video for their rural community and their office, and signing bonuses and relocation expenses for their open positions. Promotional materials, again, I'm not sure what the basis of cost was here for their request amount. We think at least $1,000 as an initial down payment to do the kind of table covers when you see folks tabling at CLEs and there's a logo or something on the table, that kind of thing, some printed material that people can take with them. So we're suggesting some funding for that, at least to get this started and then to continue to consider other needs as they arise. And recruiting related travel, again, some of this would be for bringing people in on a third interview, perhaps to visit the community. Some of it would be for the staff that would be doing travel to the recruiting events at various places around the state. Internships we've talked about and we're supportive of. Any other questions? Doriana, did Ms. Connor reply regarding the
Yes, she did reply. She said, yes, that is correct. 40,000 for 5 interns for 2 years.
Yes, that was my mistake. Thank you, Amy, for clarifying that for us. So just going back to the Potter County item, the amount that we're recommending is the 40,000 that was requested for those interns Doriana just mentioned. So that's my error, and that would change that subtotal for Potter County by 20,000 to increase it by 20,000.
So it would be 372,256 for a total Potter County's request.
Right. Thank you. I apologize for that typo there. Okay, let's continue through the rest of these items and then we can. So Victoria County, again, requested a waiver of matching funds insofar as we're able to do it. And we're requesting a 20% reduction in their scheduled match for their regional rural public defender program, 245,822. They also requested a much more modest amount of $15,000 at this juncture for recruiting tools and travel, which we certainly support. And we'll invite them to revisit that in the next several months if they identify other items in their recruiting area that they might like to request. And they certainly can come back and discuss other funds that might be needed. They also requested, and this is a new office, the Victoria office was set up in the last year and a half. And so a lot of the needs that they identified were for legal research resources that they didn't have in their original budget. They've also requested laptops for the program staff, 23,750. Printers and miscellaneous equipment that just weren't part of the original budget, but that they would like to have for their program. And so I believe that total, yeah. So all that total that we recommended was 334,319 for the Victoria Regional Public Defender Office serving those 4 counties. Last item, I believe, is Texas Tech. This is for the Caprock Regional Public Defender Clinic. This is a clinic based at the law school that we funded for many years. It's been one of the most successful programs that serves as a pipeline for bringing new attorneys into public defense work in Texas. So we're pleased to continue to support it because there is substantial overlap with the region where the Hale County High Plains Regional Public Defender Office provides coverage. As that program rebuilds after the challenges that I've mentioned earlier, it would be especially helpful for Texas Tech to have an additional attorney. They have one that works with the clinic students and represents a number of cases in that very large rural region in the High Plains. So they've requested basically a 2-year attorney fellow position to double their capacity. And we are very much supportive of that, particularly in the context of the Hale County High Plains Regional Office being in this rebuilding phase, not being able to take cases for those numerous rural counties in that area. So we're recommending the approval of 2 years for that additional attorney fellow. And then they've also requested a vehicle for the for the Caprock Regional Public Defender Program. The bureaucratic challenges in working with Texas Tech to get reimbursed for mileage have been significant. And we've talked with Joe Stevens, their attorney that staffs the Caprock Clinic, about the difficulties getting the appropriate reimbursements for mileage of personal vehicles. So they're not getting the standard 70-cent reimbursement for mileage because of some bureaucratic requirements that Texas Tech places on the need to do cost comparisons. We think this would be an appropriate use of, they've requested a vehicle for the program, something like a minivan, where they could take a group of clinic students to court. They put a lot of miles on vehicles to get around to these 9 very rural counties. It's roughly 9 counties. It sometimes varies between 9 and 11 that are participating and using the clinic for representation, mostly for misdemeanors, but also for some lower level felonies. And so we're recommending that they get approved for a vehicle. That cost there is based on an assumption of about a $40,000 actual vehicle cost plus an extended warranty so that maintenance would be covered for a period of time and the associated kind of insurance costs and other things that would be needed to budget for over the next couple of years. We do think that this would ultimately save money because the grant that we currently have in place for Caprock includes substantial travel reimbursement funds that are not getting spent down because of some of these challenges with the way that tech administers them. And so we would anticipate that this would clearly start to save money for us as we grant our ongoing grant support for the program by reducing travel expenses over what's currently budgeted after about year three based on our analysis. So we think that's a good investment for this one-time money. So I've tried to summarize this as best as possible. You can see that there are themes here that repeat. The internships, I think, are very straightforward, strong recommendation. We think the investments in the recruiting are critical, and we're supportive of those. The attorney fellow, the equipment, and then a couple of other kind of unique circumstances we've talked about. I know I've been talking a lot. I want to pause here. I also want to mention that for most of the programs, we do have some representatives who are in the waiting room. If there are particular questions you'd like to dive into, we can bring folks in. But I'll just pause there, let you all ask any questions you may have or just discuss.
None here.
I didn't have any further questions. I don't know if Jay do you have any questions?
No, not here.
Okay. I know it's a lot. I appreciate your patience to kind of work through it all. Some of the items are like the background of a cartoon that starts to repeat, but other ones are unique to the county. So I wanted to make sure we covered everything in here. We've kind of presented it as a slate because there's a ton of detail and we thought it would be simpler. And so we do have a draft motion, again, with the proposed amendment based on my typo, changing the Potter County internship recommendation from 20,000 to 40,000 to fully recommend their request, which would change the grand subtotal there. Doriana, did you just do that on the fly for us?
I did it here. Let me.
Okay. So that changes the grand total there to increases it by 20,000 basically.
Correct.
If you're comfortable taking this up as a slate, we do have motion motion number 6 that you can entertain, or we can go through them individually, however you prefer to proceed.
I will move to recommend the award of temporary or one-time assistance for existing rural defender programs according to the amounts we've reviewed on pages 17 through 19 of the materials, with the one amendment that Potter County will be approved for the full amount of their internship request, which was $40,000. So that's the motion.
I'll second that motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you all both. I appreciate your patience working through a lot of detail. We got a lot of material in the short turnaround, so thank you very much for working through that with us. I think we're going to kick it into relatively high gear to get you all out of here. Have a handful of grant modification requests that are all pretty routine that we didn't have ready at the June meeting, and so we'll jump into those. First one is from Burnett County for the Regional Public Defender Office serving Burnett, Llano, and Blanco County. They request an increase of their FY26 sustainability grant for that program, which boosts it by $61,912. This is related, and the vast majority of that is related to the county adopting a 5% increase in their, or rather, cost of living adjustment for countywide staff, according to the TIDC guidelines that were adopted last year. Generally, we consider countywide adjustments of this sort to be presumptively reasonable and approved, but always subject to your ultimate ratification. So we're recommending, there was also some changes in their insurance costs that were included here. So we are recommending a modification to Burnett. That's motion number 7, which is, I'm happy to read it, Justice Miskell, if you'd like.
Either way, I'll move to increase Burnett County's FY 2026 Improvement Grant Award to 1,385,099 as reflected in the materials.
I'll
Okay.
second. No,
All
that
in
needs a
favor?
second.
Aye.
Thank you. We can go to the next page. The next request is a similar request from Culberson County for the Far West Texas Regional Public Defender Program. Their budget request that was submitted for the renewal grant for that. And this, I should note that these figures reflect the expanded scope of the Far West Texas Regional Program, which will now grow to include Valverde and Terrell counties. The original budget was prepared prior to the Culberson County Commissioners Court's budget workshops. They adopted a 7% cost of living adjustment for the countywide, and again, for the same reasons. So that does impact some of the fringe amounts related to TRDCS, the retirement costs, which are indexed to the pension costs, which are indexed to salaries. So that changes salary numbers a little bit. And a nominal increase in the indirect rate, which is based on the modified direct expenses. So we do have a motion number 8 to approve the grant request that includes cost of living adjustment and other adjustments to their 2026 grant budget for Culberson County.
All right, so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next several pages are from El Paso County. We have basically two requests that are overlapping, if you will. The first request is to make adjustments to the FY25 grant that's currently in place. This is for El Paso County's Public Defender Padilla Compliance Program that we've been funding. They're in their third year. 2025 is basically the third of 4 years of funding for this program. There was some miscommunication between the program and the PD, us, and the El Paso Auditor's Office about the actual costs of the program. Because of that confusion, there were adjustments to the salary that needed to be made. The net result of correcting those budgeting errors was to increase their FY 2025 award by $4,519 to a revised total. This is again for their 2025 award to a revised total of $78,216.64. We'll round that up to 217.
Were we supposed to rebrand that?
The conversation that we had about Padilla compliance was related to a different program, the Bexar
Okay.
County program that had a title that was not particularly descriptive for what was actually the program was actually intended for.
Okay.
So
As long as as long as everybody's happy.
Yeah, I think this type of titling is more in line with that discussion that I think you're referencing, Mr. Cohen.
Okay.
Which is just Supreme Court case law and
Right. Well, we have it's the law.
yeah. So I think with that we have motion number 9.
All right, I'll
to-
move
Yeah.
to
I'll second.
recommend El Paso County's request for an FY 2025 grant budget modification for the Public Defender Padilla program. That's the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. And then related to the mistakes in budgeting that were just referenced with respect to correcting their 2025 grant award, El Paso County has 6 months left in their grant term for into 2026 because of a delayed start. So we can go to the next page, please. So we are also requesting the permission to adjust their 2026 award based on the same budget adjustment to increase their 2026 award by $2,454 to a revised total of $27,020. I want to make a note that the motion sheet included the original amount and not the revised amount. So the correct amount is on your screen, 27,020, and this basically just corrects that budgeting error that was in place for 2025 and adjusts their 2026 award accordingly.
All right, I will move as to what you just orally said out loud.
I'll second that.
So that would be,
All in favor?
Aye.
thank you. I think that works. And then one last technical correction. This is, we had, as you'll recall, at the June board meeting, a slate of our continuing grants for all of our continuing grants. And one of those awards in that slate, in the column for recommended award amount, we mistakenly included the total budget of the program and not the percentage that the grant award would cover. So this is a correction based on a typo in that slate that was adopted in 2026. So we're recommending to modify the approved 2026 grant award for Tom Green County for the Concho Valley Regional Public Defender Office to $2,110,729.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. That's the last item we have on our agenda. And unless there's any new business or further discussion, I think we can wrap up.
Did any questions or requests come up after our larger commission meeting, our most recent meeting, that you think we need to talk about in our committee?
I can't think of any specifically regarding the grants.
I know we had some other newer members at the larger commission meeting, and so I thought we tried to clarify some things about the work that we did in our committee, and I just didn't know if following that meeting you had received any other questions that might be useful for us to talk about.
I don't think that we got any other feedback and follow-up from our last full board meeting. So I can't think of anything else that we need to follow up on.
Okay, well then, does that conclude our business?
That's the end of our agenda. I want to thank you all for working through a lot of detail and sorting through some new things. The funding opportunity for the temporary program is a new thing for us, and we, as well as all the programs, had to work quickly to get something before you. So thank you very much for your support and attention and help getting through it.
All right, well, I will be there in person next week, so I'll look forward to seeing everybody then. And then if we have nothing else to talk about, then I'll move to adjourn.
Thank you.